Well, good morning, everyone. I want to thank Sharon for the introduction and the introduction of all of our guests here. But you're all VIPs, so if we had the time, we'd spend the whole session introducing everyone here today. I want to welcome all of you to the second day of our Veterans Summit, and I want to congratulate all the sponsors of the summit. I wasn't able to get here yesterday, but I understand it was a hugely successful day, and that's a tribute to all the hard work done by those behind the scenes putting this summit together, and I want to thank all of them, plus our speakers, and all of you as participants. As Sharon mentioned, my name is Lance Izumi, and I'm a member of the Board of Governors. Actually, it's amazing. I've been the longest-serving member now of the Board of Governors. I was actually appointed in 2004, and I can't believe that, actually, but it's been one of the great joys of my life because working with the people in the community college system has really been one of the greatest experiences that I've ever had, and it's been something that's really changed me as an individual. I come from an education research background, and if it weren't for my participation on the Board of Governors and with all of you out here, I would not have had the broad, wide-ranging view I have of education right now. And so I want to thank all of you for all that you're doing at your level, back at your colleges, your campuses. And so thanks very much for that. In addition to my service on the Board of Governors, I also serve as the president of the United States Army's Grassroots Advisory Board for Northern California. And I also served as a commissioned officer in the California State Military Reserve. And I want to thank our new president, Manuel Baca, for that moment of silence for December 7th, Pearl Harbor Day. My father was born and raised in Hawaii, and his brother, my uncle, was actually one of those who was killed by one of the bombs that dropped that day. So, that moment of silence for those who were fallen on that day meant something very special to me and my family. So thanks very much for that. As all of you know, and all of you are participating, the veterans population at our community colleges is increasing dramatically. At the workshops today, we will hear about the many ways that colleges and staff, all of you, are working to assist veterans as they access all the educational opportunities available on our campuses. Now, to set the tone and direction for our day, we are very fortunate and honored to have with us California's Secretary of Veterans Affairs, General Peter Gravett. Governor Brown appointed General Gravett as Secretary of the California Department of Veterans Affairs in April of 2011. I actually had the opportunity to be with General Gravett, or Secretary Gravett, at Governor Brown's Oakland Military Institute, the charter school that he started when he was mayor, and we were both speakers at the career day there. And so it was great to meet his acquaintance there, and I think you're going to really enjoy meeting him throughout this day and hearing what he has to say. As the CalVet Secretary, General Gravett oversees a department that touches on every aspect of the well-being of our veterans, from education to employment to health care to housing. And so prior to his appointment as Secretary, General Gravett had a distinguished career serving our country in the military. As was mentioned by Sharon, I believe, he's a retired Major General with more than 40 years of service in the U.S. Army and the California National Guard, including 35 in which he was a commissioned officer in the Guard, with service in numerous countries across the world, including in Central Europe, Western Europe, Asia, and Central America. Before retiring from the Guard, he served as Commanding General of the 40th Infantry Division from 1999 to 2002, becoming the first African-American National Guard Division Commander in the 225-year history of the National Guard in our country. Throughout his career, General Gravett has been presented with more than 20 awards and decorations, including the Distinguished Service Medal and the Legion of Merit. While serving in the National Guard, Secretary Gravett simultaneously served more than 22 years with the Los Angeles Police Department, and he was awarded the LAPD's highest award, the Medal of Valor. It is therefore with really great honor and with distinction that I have the honor to introduce Secretary Peter Gravett.
Thank you, Lance, and good morning. Good morning. I'm not the first speaker of the morning, so you should be wide awake by now. This is a great day. It's a great day because you're coming together to do something that's important for our veterans. And so anytime we can gather for the purpose of supporting veterans, it's a good day. I was going to acknowledge all of you are important, but all the important people here, but they've been acknowledged 2 or 3 times. So I'll just say good morning to our vice chancellors, the board members, the community college leaders, faculty association members, and also acknowledge our student veterans. Can I have all the student veterans in the room please stand? Any students here? Let's give them a hand. That's why we're here. I was honored to have been invited back to the summit. I was at the Summit 1 in San Diego last year and had a chance to make a few remarks, but a lot has happened in the past 12 months, and I kind of want to talk about that in a minute. But I heard some remarks this morning about this day, December 7th, and it's a special day in my heart also, not only because of the fact that we lost a lot of military personnel that day, but it's sentimental for me because it was on December 7th that I was promoted to the 1-star rank of Brigadier General. And then, as it turned out, some years later, on December 7th again, I was promoted to the 2-star rank of Major General. So every year at December 7th, not only am I thinking about Pearl Harbor and the people we lost, but I think about my service in the military and how that all kind of tied in together. As I arrived here yesterday afternoon and had a chance to feel the atmosphere of the conference and then in the room and talking to people, I kind of sense there's actually 2 cultures that have come together in this gathering. One culture, it has to do with geographics. One culture is the South Bay area of the San Francisco Bay, South Bay, and the other culture is the East Bay. Now, better put, that's the 49ers and the Raiders. And by the way, the Raiders lost last night, right? I guess they lose every day, though, right? Sorry. I got to get out of town. But I'm not here to talk about the NFL, although I could talk about the NFL all day. I'm here to talk a few minutes about veterans, and heard some comments today about family members being serving in the military. And I too come from sort of a military family, not necessarily a career military family, but my parents, Clarence and Alice Gravett, had 12 children, and 9 boys served in the Army. And one sister married a soldier and one married a Marine. So there's one Marine in the family. He's the butt of all the jokes at family gatherings. But my father is a World War II veteran. He served as a Tuskegee Airman, enlisted soldier, and he rose to the exalted rank of corporal, which he was very proud of, and I too. He's passed on now, but his legacy is spread throughout his family. Of my brothers, we lost one brother to Vietnam. I should say the ravages of Vietnam, because he actually passed away after he returned home. And my wife also is a veteran. She's a retired Army National Guard colonel. So we have a thread of serving the country in my family, as many of you do also, some of you heard this morning. So for the next few minutes, what I want to talk about is what CalVet is doing in initiatives to serve veterans. And I could talk all day about some of the special projects that we are doing, but I want to focus on one project, and that's the Interagency Council on Veterans. But before I talk about that, I do want to acknowledge, they've already been acknowledged, 2 of my staff members in the room. Kevin Graves is here. Kevin, please stand. Kevin Graves is he's a Gold Star dad, and he's very active in what we do all across Northern California. Appreciate your work, Kevin. And Lindsay Sin. Lindsay, please stand. She's somewhere out there. Where'd she go? She was here a minute ago. Anyway, she is my Deputy Secretary for Women Veterans. And that's very important because when I was appointed, one of the first things that I did was that I created a separate position of Deputy Secretary for Women Veterans. because I realized that the women veterans have special needs. Now, they have the same needs as male veterans, but then they have needs over and above that are particular to women. And so Lindsay focuses on our women veterans throughout the state. And California has probably more, well, they do have more women veterans than any other state, over 160,000 women veterans in California. And as you know, California is the most populous state in the nation, so in some of your documents you'll see that California has over 2 million veterans, almost 2.5 million veterans in California, more than any other state. So our work is daunting to help and assist veterans. But we also have a number that we're not proud of, because California is home to 1 in 5 homeless veterans in the nation. But we're doing something about that. We, the federal government, state government, and the counties are assisting in helping to stem the numbers of homeless veterans in our state. And that's done in collaboration with a lot of nonprofit organizations that serve veterans and others who serve homeless veterans in their homes, in their facilities, with treatment and so on and so forth. So I want to thank all of the services that help our homeless veterans. Our governor recognized that California has a challenge with veterans in the state, and so that's why he issued an executive order last year, which created the Interagency Council on Veterans, and I'll talk about that just in a couple of minutes here. Up until last summer, many organizations in the state were doing great work on behalf of veterans, but there was not a lot of collaboration taking place among the organizations, some governmental, some non-governmental, some faith-based, some veteran service organizations. So the governor, he signed the executive order B-09-11, and that created the Interagency Council on Veterans. And the Interagency Council on Veterans was created by Executive Order B-0911 on August 23rd, 2011, by Governor Brown. The purpose of the council is to identify and prioritize the needs of California veterans and to coordinate the activities at all levels of government in addressing those needs. So when he signed the executive order, he identified the members who would be members of the council. Some members he directed, those state secretaries and directors for which he had direct control over, he directed that they be members of the council, but then he invited members of other state entities for which he has no direct control over. And he also invited our federal partners, and he invited some of our nonprofit partners. And I'll just go down the list of who some of the members are on this council. He directed that the Secretary of Labor Workforce Development Agency be a member of the council. He directed that the Secretary of California Volunteers be on the council, Secretary of Business, Transportation, and Housing, Health and Human Services Agency, Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, the Adjutant General of the National Guard, and then he directed that directors of EDD, Employment Development Department, be on the council, Department of Consumer Affairs, the Director of Rehabilitation, Department of Housing and Community Development, and then he invited participation of the, as I mentioned, the leaders of other state agencies for which he has no direct control, and that is, he invited the pro tem of the Senate to appoint a member of the state Senate on the council. He invited the Speaker of the Assembly to appoint a member of the Assembly on the council, and we do have both of them that participate in our council. He invited the President of University of California to appoint a person for the council, the Chancellor of California State University, and the Chancellor of California Community Colleges, that each appoint a member of the council. And on the Community College Council, we had Mike Deere for a number of months, who got us organized, and now we have David Lawrence. And David, thank you for all the work that you've done on the council since you've been here. And then he identified my position as chairman of the council. Now, what this does, it brings together all of those individuals together to talk about what their department or agency does to help and assist veterans in California. We had our first meeting in December of 2011, and that was just with the state secretaries and directors. And then in January, we had our second meeting, and that was with the nonprofits, faith-based, and all the federal partners. And some of the non-governmental agencies that are involved include our veteran service organizations, such as American Legion, VFW, Jewish War Veterans, MVETS, and so on and so forth. But we also had representatives from the collaboratives of other organizations. At the federal level, we have U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs, the Department of Labor, the Department of Housing and Urban Development, the Military Services, and the Employee Support of the Guard and Reserve. Now that's a lot of people. And then in February, we brought both groups together for a 2-day workshop at the Convention Center in Sacramento, where we started strategizing how best to help veterans in California. And what came out of that was dividing those groups into 4 different groups and focusing on housing, education, healthcare, and employment. Each of those are important for our veterans. All of them are important. And you really need one to have the other 3. Education, of course, is key. And that's why, we are participating in this conference this week, because education is a key to a lot of other different things. But you have to have a launching pad to be educated. The launching pad is a place to stay, which is housing. And oh, by the way, veterans may need some health care along the way. And so health care is kind of tied into that. And eventually, employment is critical, is crucial, so that plays a role. So each of these 4 groups now have subgroups. And they're subgroups because they have different issues within each of those areas. And also it makes the working part more manageable by not having a very large group. These groups meet on a monthly basis. They meet either via teleconferencing or phone. It's an open line. Everybody participates. They are official state-run meetings, so we have the requirement to announce our meetings in advance and make sure we comply with the Bagley-Keene requirements, and they're open to the public. These meetings have started to shape and identify the gaps in services of veterans. And we are publishing papers in the future to identify specific needs of veterans. In your handout, in your folder, there's a single sheet of paper from the Interagency Council on education. That is just one of the 4. We have a sheet like that on each of the other 3 subcommittees. And all that can be found online on our website online, which is www.icv.ca.gov. And so what we are doing with the Governor's Interagency Council is ensuring that at least we can really identify the needs that veterans have in California, address those needs, put resources toward those needs, and resources are not all governmental resources. And that's why we have a collaborative with our civilian partners, because everyone has a role to play in helping and assisting veterans. And as the chairman of the membership, I have the great opportunity to interface with cabinet members that I would have never interfaced with if this council had not been formed. Because as a cabinet member of the governor, even though we serve in the cabinet, we really don't know each other that well. We all have our role to play. We're very, very busy. But I have the opportunity to bring everybody together every now and then and reach out and see what they're doing to help and assist veterans. And that gives me a good thing to do. Now, also in the Interagency Council, we are identifying the best practices for veteran service centers. And there are a number of veteran service centers throughout the state, both one-stop in the communities and veteran service centers on your campuses. And I've had the pleasure of visiting probably at least a dozen, I would say a dozen community colleges throughout the state and their service centers, and see how they operate. There's some great things being done on various campuses. And other campuses are starting to initiate best practices in their service centers. And I was, as a matter of fact, this week I was at Cerritos College in Norwalk and had a chance to visit there with the veterans down there. And, as a matter of fact, had dinner with some of them last night. And I want to just single them out only because I was there most recently, but I was there with Nancy Montgomery and her team down there. But also, I won't start naming the colleges because I'd probably forget a few, but they are all over the state of California, from San Diego up to Redding. So, and I do a lot of traveling in doing that. So, in closing, what I want to talk about, just say, is that at CalVet, our role is to serve veterans. Every week when I have a staff meeting, I ask the same question first thing: why are we here? And my staff responds to serve veterans. And they understand that, and we understand that. And I think the governor understands that we have a critical role to play. We work very closely with our federal partners, especially the federal VA. General Shinseki laid down the mantle about 3 years ago and said that he wanted to end homelessness among veterans in a 5-year period. I think we're about 3 years into that 5 years. We haven't hit the 60% mark, but I think we're teetering around 45 to 50% of eliminating homelessness in the United States. It's ours is the greatest nation in the world, and we should not have one single veteran that's homeless, and not one single veteran that does not have ready access to education, both at any level that he or she chooses to attend college. So with that, I want to thank you for your time this morning, and thank you for being here, and thank you for serving veterans. And when you see a veteran, just thank them for their service. Thank you very much.